Hey, how is it going? It is your muscle building coach, Lee Hayward, back again with another live video Q&A for the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. And today I'm going to still do a Q&A, but I have to keep it short because we have a barbecue planned and I'm going to be here for probably about 20-25 minutes tops. So it's going to be a bit shorter than the other video chats, but nonetheless, I want to tune in and give you the best 20 to 25 minutes that I can to help you with your muscle building, fitness, and fat loss goals. So if there's any specific challenges that you're dealing with, anything with regards to your workouts, your nutrition, supplementation, anything at all when it comes to building muscle, burning fat, hey, feel free to type in those topics of discussion, those questions and concerns that you have into the chat window, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our chat today. And if I can't help you, then I'll try and recommend some outside resources or people who can help, right? I mean, I don't claim to know it all, but if I can help you, then hey, by all means, I'd like to do so. So let's see who we have tuning in here today. And of course, if this is coming through loud and clear, let me know by typing in that you can hear me, you can see me, it's coming through loud and clear. I always want to do that check before we actually get into the content, because I have had, it's been rare, but I've had a few cases where I started into the video chat and then I started talking and answering questions, and then next thing you know, nobody can hear me, right? The audio is on mute or whatever. So I just want to make sure that it is coming through. We've got Angel joining in. Hey, how is it going? We've got Roberts joining in. We have Chad is joining us. Loud and clear coming through. Good stuff. Glad to hear it. Thanks, guys. All right, I'm just going to jump right into the questions here now and try to knock out as many of them as I can. Oops, I'm knocking over my phone here. Chad's got one here. Well, what's he saying? I've been working out upper body 3 days a week for 6 months, but my arms aren't growing very big. Okay. That could be genetics. It could be the workouts. It's really hard for me to tell based on such a limited amount of information. One thing, you're only training your upper body. That, even though it kind of theoretically makes sense, hey, if you want to build up your upper body, then you want to focus on training your upper body. But I'm going to tell you from a practical standpoint, when you work the entire body in balance and proportion, including the legs. I know a lot of guys don't like to hear this, but when you train the entire body, including the legs, it helps to speed up the progress all over. The legs have a very stimulating effect on the entire central nervous system. It helps to stimulate the body. It helps to stimulate the release of natural anabolic hormones like testosterone and growth hormone. And when you get bigger and stronger in the big lifts, your squats, your deadlifts, your bench presses, your rows, your overhead presses, and all those big lifts, when you get stronger in those, then you get bigger and stronger all over. And I'm looking back like at my own training. When I've made the best gains, it's when all those lifts were going up simultaneously. So if you want to get bigger arms, you got to get bigger and stronger all over, not just doing endless sets of curls. Like, that's not the way to get bigger arms. You need to get bigger and stronger all over. And a general rule of thumb, if you want to put on an inch of size to your arms, so you want to gain an inch to your biceps, you're going to have to put on between 10 to 15 pounds of muscular body weight. It's very hard to gain muscle and without gaining weight in the process. Now, of course, that's unless you're overweight and got a lot of extra body fat. And then in those situations, it's possible to lose body fat while building muscle simultaneously. But if you're like the quote unquote skinny hard gainer who's trying to gain weight, you need to put on at least 10 to 15 pounds of muscular body weight in order to gain an inch on your upper arms. Now, if you want some help with that, I actually put together a complete arm specialization training program that goes into the workouts, the nutrition, the mindset, and the strategies behind it all. It's called Blast Your Biceps. Just head on over to my website, blastyourbiceps.com. Check it out, and it's a complete training system that you can follow. This is one that I put together a while back. I can't remember exactly when I launched this, but it was well over 10 years ago. But it's been one of the best programs that I've ever put together for helping to fill out the arms with solid size. So again, check that out, blastyourbiceps.com. That should put you on the right direction. Who else we got joining? Aaron's joining us. Welcome. Let's see what else we got. First Revenge joining in. Are there any exercises that help with better posture? Yeah, definitely. I think one of the best things that you can do if posture is a big issue, and this is kind of like a universal answer that I would give for a lot of people who have any mobility issues. It could be like flexibility, mobility, aches, pains, or whatever. Yoga. Yoga is such an underrated form of exercise. I mean, it's ancient. It's as old as dirt, right? It's been around for like there's been yoga long before there's been a barbell, right? Yoga has been around for a long time, but it's kind of pushed to the side, especially amongst people who are involved with weight training, because a lot of guys think, well, if you're not lifting heavy weights, then what's the point, right? You're not actually getting any benefit. But yoga really helps to fill in a lot of the gaps, because what happens is when you do weight training exercises, you tend to overstrengthen certain muscles and neglect others. And I find that yoga helps to fill in some of those gaps. So as you're doing different yoga poses, I mean, you could be a big, strong guy. Like I've seen bodybuilders who can bench, 300 plus pounds and squat 400 and 500 pounds and stuff like that. And then they try and hold some yoga poses and they're shaking like a leaf because they don't have that core stability and that stabilization in all their areas to hold those different poses. So if you have any imbalances, any mobility issues, any weaknesses, yoga will bring that out and it'll help to strengthen them. And when it comes to your posture, there's a lot of the different poses there that help to align the spine, align the neck, and it's something that I would definitely recommend doing. And if you want some suggestions, and it's kind of like I guess, a more detailed overview of what I'm sharing with you, I actually made a video a while back called Yoga for Bodybuilders. Just go on YouTube, search Lee Hayward, Yoga for Bodybuilders, and you'll see that video. And it's just basically me sharing my experiences of implementing a yoga workout along with weight training. And it's something, I'll be honest, I don't do it as often as I should, right? But it's something that I would highly recommend. At minimum, like do it once a week even. And it's so easy to do yoga because nowadays with YouTube, you have like hundreds, if not thousands, of follow along full yoga workouts, and they're all different levels, right? There one that I have a channel that I followed. It's called Yoga with Adriene, and I think she's got the biggest channel in YouTube for yoga. It's one like when I typed in yoga, she was like the first one that popped up. And the thing I like about her channel is she gears it towards beginners. And when you're following along with the videos, yes, she's talking to a camera, just like I'm talking to a camera now, but she's speaking to you as if you were there with her one on one, and she's speaking as if she's speaking to a beginner. And I like that because I'm a beginner, right? And she doesn't make you feel like an idiot if you can't do a certain pose. So, like, as you're going through it, it almost makes you feel comfortable. Like, if you're struggling with it, she's like, it's okay. It's normal to struggle. Whereas some channels, like, they'll twist themselves up into some funky yoga pretzel and almost act like, hey, everybody can do this. And I'm like, hell no, they can't do that. So it's a more beginner focused channel, and the workouts are great. They're quick. They're like 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops. You can get yourself an awesome workout. So yeah, check it out. Like the video I did, just type in Lee Hayward Yoga for Bodybuilders, and if you actually want some follow along workouts, one channel that I recommend is Yoga with Adriene. And I'm telling you guys, from a bodybuilding, muscle building point of view, if you want something that'll help to injury proof your body, improve your strength and flexibility and mobility in all areas, it's a great way to supplement your weight training workout. I mean, if you're looking for like the best worlds, you'd want to balance strength training, cardio, and yoga. If you did all three, man, you'd have it all. You'd have the strength, you'd have the endurance, and you'd have the mobility and the flexibility there as well. So that's my take on that. As I think somebody sent in a tip there. Who's that? Let's just see. I'm on my phone, so the dashboard looks a little different than what I'm used to. That's from Aaron. Oh, appreciate it, Aaron. Aaron sponsored the video there. Much appreciated. So what are your thoughts on amino acids, adding them to my water throughout the day? Is it a waste? All right, this is my take on amino acids. It's not a waste. I mean, your body will utilize them, but do you need them? Not throughout the day. And well, let me back that up. It depends on your diet. If you're consuming a high protein diet with a minimum of 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, spaced out evenly throughout the day, then consuming additional amino acids is kind of redundant because you're already providing your body with the amino acids it needs through the high protein food. Now, if you're on a low protein diet, like vegans or vegetarians or people who have eating restrictions and they can't eat a lot of high protein foods, then yeah, supplementing with amino acids and protein powders in general will make a huge difference. But for someone who has no eating limitations or problems with consuming adequate high protein food, then adding extra amino acids throughout the day is kind of redundant. You really don't need it. Now, it's not going to hurt. Like if you want to, almost like an insurance policy to make sure that you're getting all the aminos that your body needs, hey, go for it. Or if you enjoy it, like maybe you got a nice tasting amino acid drink and you put it in with your water and you just enjoy drinking it, it makes your water taste better. Hey, go for it. There's nothing wrong with it. Like the extra amino acids is not going to hurt, but it might be a bit redundant in some cases. So, like this is the way it works when it comes to amino acids. They're best consumed during high intensity exercise when your body is breaking down muscle tissue and you want to help to rebuild and replenish that muscle tissue as rapidly as possible. So high intensity workouts, like high intensity or long duration cardio sessions. Like if you're going on like a day long hike or like you're doing an extreme endurance event, right? Running marathons or some triathlon or some extreme whatever day long bike trip or something like that, then yeah, taking fast digesting amino acids throughout the day can definitely help to keep your body from breaking down that lean muscle tissue. But in a normal situation with adequate protein intake, you really don't need it. So hopefully that helps. And again, if you do have any questions or you want to clarify it more, hey, shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to chat and elaborate on anything if you do have any other questions. All right, where else are we to? Let's just scroll through. Get back to my place. Okay. Is it okay to eat fish every day like sardines? That one's from Sean. It's personal preference. I'm not a big fan of like I don't mind sardines and ration, but every day, man, that'd try to that's just my personal preference, or you know, my personal taste, I should say. But hey, if you enjoy it and you want it, then go for it. I mean, like sometimes canned fish, like the sardines and like tuna and stuff like that. I mean, it's cheap and it's convenient. And hey, if you want to get it for quick, easy sources of protein, by all means, do it. The good thing about sardines is they have a lot of good fat in there. So you're going to get a lot of the omega-3 fats that you're not going to get through something like tuna fish. Like tuna fish is, you know, virtually fat-free. Like there's very little fat in tuna. That's why it's so dry. But sardines are oily fish, so you're going to get more of those healthy fats. The only downside to it is a lot of canned sardines I find are packed in oil. So you're getting a lot of like junk oil. Like if it's packed in vegetable oil or whatever it's packed in, you know, like those calories or that type of oil, you don't need more vegetable oil in your diet, right? You need more of the good omega-3 fatty acids. That's what you need in your diet, the good natural fish oils. So when it comes to sardines, you want to look at what they're packed in. All right, if it's packed in olive oil, that's not so bad because I mean olive oil is a healthy oil that you can have as well. But just look for what it's packed in. That's what I would. And as far as every day, take that with a grain of salt. I mean, like, come on. I mean, like, after a while, it's one of those foods, man. Like chicken is bland and boring, but it's good because you can eat it regularly. Like I can eat chicken every day for at least one meal a day. And you know, the boringness and blandness of chicken, it's actually a benefit because it doesn't turn you off from it. It doesn't like have that strong, distinct taste that would turn you off. But sardines, like that's an acquired taste, right? If you eat it day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, yeah, it can really like just, you know, turn you from your sardines. So sometimes having the blander foods, it's actually advantageous when you're trying to have that consistency in your diet because it's, you know, it's a food that you can modify the taste based on what you add to it, right? Like if you can add sauces and seasoning, like you could add like barbecue sauce to your chicken and totally change it, or you can add salsa sauce to your chicken, or you can chop it up and put it in a stir fry and change it up. Like sardines, it doesn't always mix good with everything else, right? There you go. Anyway. But as far as a protein source in food, hey, it's still a good source of protein, a good source of healthy fat. What else we got? Let's scroll through here. Ahmad is joining in. He says, does 2 separate 30-minute cardio a day have the same benefit as one longer 60-minute session? You know, you could even argue that the 2 30-minute sessions would be more beneficial than one 60-minute session, because what happens is when you get out there and you start doing metabolic activity, like you're doing your cardio, it improves your blood sugar utilization. It helps to spike your metabolism. It gets your body moving and just increases metabolic activity. If you only do cardio once a day, then you're only spiking metabolic activity once a day. If you're doing it twice a day, then you're actually spiking it twice a day. So it helps to improve blood sugar utilization better. So you can actually argue that the 2 30-minute sessions is more effective than the 1 60-minute session. Now, in the greater scheme of things and from a practical point of view, any cardio is better than no cardio. If you can do 1 30-minute session, do 1 30-minute session. If you can do 1 60-minute session, do 1 60-minute. If you can do 2 30-minute sessions, do that. If you do 3 10-minute walks, do that. Like, bottom line, anything is better than nothing, right, when it comes to the cardio. And I utilize it all. Like, if I'm pressed for time, sometimes I'll break it up and I'll just do little short bursts. Like, maybe I only got I'm 10 minutes. Like, I got 10 minutes on my lunch break, then hey, I'll go and do 10 minutes walk around the block. If I got longer, I'll go do longer cardio. Like, in my case, I do a lot of cycling. And sometimes a cycling workout could be an hour. Some days I might go off for like half a day. And it could be like for 3 or 4 hours. I mean, so I don't really have a rhyme or a reason to it. It really depends on my schedule, my energy levels and stuff like that. But when it comes to cardio, especially for fat loss and improving your overall health, for the most part, the more the better. Now, of course, I use that loosely, because some people really take that to the extremes. Like, if you're looking at like extreme endurance athletes, more is not always better. And I'm talking about guys who are like on their bikes for 6 hours a day. Like, that more is not better at that stage. Like, you could easily burn yourself out at that level. But for the average person who's struggling to get in upwards of an hour of cardio a day, more is better, right? Like, if you're like, oh, I do 20 minutes of cardio after my weight training, like that's not much cardio. So more is better in that situation. But if you're like an extreme endurance athlete who's already doing 5 hours of cardio a day, then more at that stage is not better. So hopefully that helps. But bottom line, the more is the better for most of us watching this right now. Is 300-pound bench press impressive for someone who weighs under 200 pounds? In my opinion, heck yes. 300-pound bench press is impressive for pretty much anybody. I mean, if you go into the average gym, like, you're I'm not talking about some elite powerlifting gym, or I'm not talking like Gold's Gym Venice or West Side Barbell or any of these, crazy famous gyms. But if you go into your average gym, like go to any town, city, wherever, and go into the gym and look around, and you will see very few people with 3 plates aside on the bench press. Very few, right? So yeah, it's an impressive lift for pretty much anybody. And so yeah, I mean, especially if you're under 200 pounds, I mean, that says 1.5 pounds your body weight. Absolutely. I mean, in powerlifting standards, like if somebody's benching double body weight, like you're at the top of your game, double body weight bench press. So I mean, in that case, you're 1.5. So I mean, if someone's 200 pounds and they're benching 300, yeah, that's definitely respectable. I mean, the average person can't bench anywhere near their own body weight, right? So like the average 200-pound man is not even going to be able to bench press 200 pounds. So yeah, of course it's impressive. Now, if you're looking at world-class elite level powerlifters, no, it's not impressive, but it's all relative. The dude is saying vote Lee for president. Well, you can't, because I'm not even in the United States. But thanks for the compliment. Thanks for the comment. Much appreciated. I'll be the president of live video chats on YouTube. How's that? Ahmad's got another question. If one day you have only 1 hour of free time, would you go for cardio or weightlifting? That really depends on the week, because on one day, like this is how I break up my week. I usually do weight training one day and then cardio the next. So if I have 1 hour today, I'll probably do weight training. If I have 1 hour tomorrow, then I'll probably do cardio. And then if I have 1 hour the next day, then I'll do weight training. So I usually alternate, weight training, cardio, day for day. And I like doing that. I find that when you have your workout structured that way, it works within your body's recovery and it allows you to get the benefits of daily exercise without overtraining and burning yourself out. Like you're not going to get the repetitive movement patterns of daily cardio, and you're also going to give your muscles time to rest and recover and grow from weight training. So weight training one day, cardio the next. It's so simple, but it works so well. I mean, sometimes simple is good. Like, why do we overcomplicate things? Like everyone's trying to make their diets overcomplicated and make their workouts overcomplicated. Like I'm take the opposite approach. I want to keep it as streamlined and as simple and as basic and as boring as possible. Well, I don't consider it boring, but like as ABC simple as possible, because simple things done consistently produce real results. If you could have the most complicated advanced program out there with all kinds of variables and customization and blah blah blah, and if it's too complicated and you can't follow it consistently, then it's not going to work. Like a simple program done consistently is going to outperform the most advanced complex program done inconsistently. And I like simple and consistent. That's my approach, and that's how I've managed to get back in shape after 40. That's how I teach my coaching students to get back in shape. Like people who've tried and failed with more advanced, complicated approaches in the past, I say, hey, let's cut out all that crap, all that BS. Let's just take this simple little streamlined program and let's follow it day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out. And before you know it, they're seeing crazy progress from this simple program. And it's like, it's so simple. It's easy to follow. I'm not getting overwhelmed. I'm not confused. I'm not bogged down with all this crazy details. I'm actually getting results. I feel better. I look better. I'm healthier. I'm leaner. I'm more muscular. Like, isn't that what we want? We want results without the complexity. Like, that's one of the things that really bugs the crap out of me about the way most fitness gurus are on internet. Is like, I'm here trying to simplify it, and other people out there are trying to complicate it, because when they can complicate it, it makes it easier for them to, like, if you're always confused and you feel like you need to buy whatever it is they're selling, right? You need to buy their magic formula, their magic supplements, their magic whatever. But if you just simplify the approach, you probably don't need anything. You got enough as it is right now. Maximize what you already have. All right, let's see what else we got. What's my favorite movie? I've got a lot. I don't know what my favorite one is. I mean, I've got a lot of classics. I mean, I love all the Star Wars movies. I love all the Lord of the Rings movies. What are some classics? Like I love these big action adventure type of movies. Again, Star Wars classic. I mean, who doesn't love Star Wars, right? You got to love that. Especially I actually liked the old ones, right? The original Star Wars, the ones that were made back in the 70s and 80s, like the real Star Wars. I mean, because first of all, I remember like as a kid going to the movie theater, in the 80s and seeing Star Wars on the big screen, and I was like blown away, like, holy crap, this is amazing. Now when I watch it, it looks a bit cheesy, but it's still cool. But that's what I like. I like these big action adventure type of movies, the gladiator type movies, and again, I like Lord of the Rings. I like Star Wars. What are some other ones that I really like? Trying to think. Haven't really seen a good epic movie that stands out in my mind as of recent times. Nothing really stands out like a super, like, oh my god, that's the best movie ever. Anyway, I tell you one thing, like I don't watch a lot of movies these days. I more get into these TV show series that you get on Netflix, right? Like watching the series, and I like the way that Netflix and these other, what, I don't know what you call them, TV movie sites or TV movie networks, how they produce these shows. Because when you're watching a show, you can get into the character, and then it continues on. It's like the never-ending story, if you will. But with a movie, it's like 2 hours and it's done. So I actually like watching these long series shows on Netflix and stuff like that. One that I watched recently that I really liked, Marco Polo. That's on Netflix. That was a really cool one. The Vikings, another one. I really like that one. What are some other ones? Shit, I can't remember all the names. Anyway, we're not here to talk about movies. I'm going to get on talking about workout stuff because I got to clue it up soon. Plan on trying out yoga myself. DDP Yoga. I'm a yoga novice. I don't even know what DDP Yoga stands for. I'd have to look it up. I just call it yoga. Right. I am no yoga master. That's why I refer out when it comes to yoga. I mean, I have a little bit of experience of going through it myself, but hey, I don't feel qualified to teach by no stretch. Sean's asking, do I watch Sean Nalewanyj's channel? I've known Sean like through the internet for years. I've never actually met the guy in person, but we've chatted and you know, because he's been around a long time as well, like since, you know, gosh, I don't know when he started, but it was in the early 2000s or something like that. So yeah, I watch some of his videos. I don't like watch everything he posts, but for the most part, I agree with what he has to say. Sticky G is joining in. He says, I injured my shoulder. I have an impingement, I think. Do you have any advice on how to train around it? Well, I'll tell you what, do a search for Lee Hayward rotator cuff. There's several videos related to, like, I usually title those videos rotator cuff, or if you search for rotator cuff, you'll find them. And that includes a lot of different shoulder mobility exercises. But one of the key things, if you have any injury, I mean, this applies for a shoulder injury, but it could apply for any type of injury. If a particular exercise or movement hurts, don't do it. Find another variation instead. So, like if barbell shoulder presses hurt, don't do barbell shoulder presses. You know, maybe try dumbbell presses. Maybe try a machine shoulder press. Maybe try using rubber resistance bands and doing different exercises. Maybe you can't even do a shoulder press. Maybe you just have to limit yourself to like side lateral raises and front raises and rear delt flies. But try and work around it the best you can without causing further aches or pains or strain. Like good pain is that dull burn that you get in the muscles, like the lactic acid buildup and the feeling of muscular fatigue. Bad pain is this really sharp shooting pain that you get, like usually in the joints, tendons, or ligaments. Avoid the bad pain. It's okay to get the good pain, you know, that dull burn, that again the lactic acid buildup. That's okay, but avoid the sharp shooting pain. And you know, when it comes to the exercises, like don't get hung up on the exercise. Focus on working the muscle. And if it's really bad, you may have to just avoid training that muscle temporarily and try and work around it the best you can. You know, even just doing like chest workouts and back workouts and arm workouts without any direct shoulder isolation, the shoulders are still going to come into play as secondary and supporting muscles. So even if you never did a lateral raise or a shoulder press, but you train chest, back, and arms, you're still indirectly hitting your shoulders. So work around it that way the best that you can. And you know, again, check out those videos that I post up, and like just do search for Lee Hayward rotator cuff, and you'll see a whole bunch of them. I've got some that are fairly recent. I've got some that are really old, you know, that are shot maybe 10, 15 years ago on a potato. Watch them all, right? There's good content in all of them. So again, that'll definitely help give you some suggestions on how you can help to rehab that shoulder and get back to training normally again. Are amino acid tabs a good investment? I already talked about amino acids earlier. Again, they're certainly helpful, but they're not a must-have by no means. A regular, I want to say hello again. Thanks, RC. Appreciate it. Nick is joining in and just sponsored the video chat. Hey, appreciate it, Nick. I'm going to answer your question, then probably get ready to clue it up. It says, when do you know if you should compete in bodybuilding? That really depends on you. There's no set rules when it comes to bodybuilding. Like for a novice level bodybuilding competition, technically anybody can enter it. Anybody. There's no, you pay your entry fee, you show up, you compete, right? That's basically it. Now, from a practical point of view, you don't want to go in there and place dead last. Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing either, right? Sometimes you do place dead last when you're doing something for the first time, but you don't want to go in there and embarrass yourself, right? So like if you know for a fact, like you are overweight and out of shape, or you're like a really skinny dude without an ounce of muscle on your frame, you're not ready. All right. Right. Like I wouldn't want to see, and I have seen it over the years when I was competing in bodybuilding, like guys, like they just they don't even look like they work out, and they're up on stage in posing trunks and all oiled up, and it just looks wrong. Like seriously, it just looks wrong. There's no shape, there's no definition. They're just average. It's like you could have just took anybody off the beach and said, "Hey, get up on stage in your speedos and pose." Like it just looks wrong if you don't have at least a decent base of muscle mass on your frame and low enough body fat that you can actually see the muscle, right? So in my case, I did my first bodybuilding show after 5 years of training. Right? That's kind of a general guideline. I mean, most novice level bodybuilders, unless you're a genetic freak, it's going to take you at least 5 years of training before you have the foundation to even enter a novice level competition. And even then, you might get your ass kicked. I did. I competed. It was the 1995 Newfoundland Provincial Championships. I competed that year. I was 17 years old. I started training when I was 12. By the time I was 17, that's 5 years of training. I competed in my first show, and I placed 6th out of 8. So I was in the bottom of the pack. Didn't even crack the top 5 in that competition, or that weight class, I should say. So I mean, it was a great learning experience. I loved the whole process of going through it. I learned a lot about myself and my training, and what it did is it motivated me to want to compete again and improve. And that's how I got caught up in the whole bodybuilding competition things. I just wanted to improve. So then the next year, I competed again, and guess what? I actually won the middleweight class the following year. So I went from placing 6th the first year to winning the following year. So sometimes you need a poor result or a poor showing to give you the motivation and the experience and the drive to actually want to push yourself to improve the following year. And that was been my motivating drive throughout the whole time I was competing. So, how do you know you're ready? If you're looking for a timeline, if you've got 5 years of consistent training under your belt and people can look at you and say, yeah, you work out, yeah, you're in pretty good shape, and they can visually see that you've got some muscle on your frame, you're probably ready to do a novice level bodybuilding show, right? But if the average person looking at you can't tell that you work out and you don't look the part, you're probably not ready. So again, it's very subjective, right? Bodybuilding in general is very subjective. There's no hard set rules to it, right? It's like it's a beauty competition for who looks the best standing up in a pair of trunks on stage, and against a whole bunch of other guys. It's a beauty competition for guys. Who's got the best looking body out of this group of people? So beauty is in the eye of the beholder. That's why we have a panel of judges, and then they take the high scores and throw them out, and the low scores throw them out, and then the middle scores, they get averaged out to try and give the fairest and most non-biased results possible. But even then, it's still subjective, right? But yeah, so there. 5+ years of training. We could summarize all that crap that I just said there. Hey, if you've been working out consistently for 5 years and you look like you're ready to compete, then compete. If not, then don't. All right, let's see what else we got. Thoughts on managing. Thoughts on main gaining. I thought it was managing. Thoughts on main gaining. Is bulking a myth? I've heard the term main gaining from Greg Doucette, and I actually competed against Greg Doucette back in 2006. We both competed at the Atlantic Canadian Bodybuilding Championships. I placed 2nd in the light heavyweight division, and Greg won the middleweight class and overall that year. So yeah, I competed against him back in the day. I mean, Greg's just a nut for bodybuilding. I mean, I don't know how many shows he's got, like a gazillion. I don't have that many, far less. But yeah, I've heard that term from Greg, and I got to agree with him. Bulking is overrated. It's most people use bulking as an excuse to get fat, and I know I've been guilty of that in the past, using that as an excuse. And if I could change one thing about my whole past approach to bodybuilding and fitness, is I wouldn't have bulked up, because what happens is you bulk up, and yes, you fill out your frame, you get bigger, you get stronger. I mean, it's good from a strength and power sport. Like you see strongman competitors bulking, and it makes sense in that situation. But from a bodybuilding or an athletic point of view, the extra weight you gain, once you start dieting to lose the body fat, then you're also going to lose let's just say you gain 5 pounds of muscle and you put on 10 pounds of fat as well. So you bulked up 15 pounds. when you got to turn around and diet off that 10 pounds of fat, you're probably going to lose several pounds of that muscle. You would have probably made just as good, if not better, gains by staying lean and having a slow, gradual gain. Like, stay lean and just put on a few pounds of lean mass versus this big bulk and then this big cut, and where you're building and losing muscle as well as body fat in the process. Like, staying lean and making slow, steady gains, it'll keep your skin tighter, it'll be healthier, you'll be able to maintain the muscle that you actually build, not just balloon up and letting the air out of the balloon and up and down yo-yo dieting. That was one of the mistakes that I made back in the day. And if I could go back in time and turn things around, I would have been much more conservative in the off season. It wouldn't have been this all or nothing, hardcore cutting diet, or this, binge eating bulking diet. It would have been a much more streamlined approach, and staying lean year round. And if you want to try and increase your lean muscle mass, then just a very slight calorie surplus. I'm talking like still eating the same type of foods that you would if you were trying to cut, but just in the small surplus, like a little bump up the carbohydrates a little bit, and just put yourself in a slight surplus. So let's just say, okay, you're cutting on 2,500 calories, you would bulk on 2,800 calories. Like, that's how small of a surplus I would go. I wouldn't do this like trying to slam back 4,000 and 5,000 calories a day, which I have done in the past. And yeah, eating 4,000 and 5,000 calories a day helps you gain weight, all right, but it's not the good weight, right? It's weight right around the belly, and that's the weight that you don't want. So bulking is overrated, in my opinion, for most people, with the exception of someone who just wants to get big at all costs. Like, hey, if you're trying to win the sumo wrestling national championships of the world or whatever, yeah, bulking makes sense. But for someone who wants to be lean and athletic and muscular, bulking doesn't make sense. All right, guys, I'm going to clue it up. I know there's still a few more questions there, but I have to run. My wife is out there and she's got a barbecue on for us, so we are going to go out there and have a barbecue. I actually got barbecued chicken breasts tonight, so and I'm going to be putting on some G Hughes barbecue sauce. If you haven't tried that, by God, you got to try it. G Hughes got this sugar-free barbecue sauce, and it tastes amazing. I just kind of got onto it a few months ago, and I love the stuff. But again, barbecued chicken breast and G Hughes barbecue sauce. Good stuff. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video chat. I certainly enjoyed doing it, and I will talk to you next Friday. Take care. Over and out.